welcome you. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating exploration sparked by this, well, quite eclectic collection of sources you've shared.
It really is a mix that, seems pretty disparate at first.
Totally. We've got a musical score, the Battle of Trenton Sonata, and it has this weird note, divine disaster.
Right. And alongside that, maps of Boston, Charleston, some pretty striking political cartoons, historical accounts.
And even, yeah, material about a nuclear power plant proposal on Long Island. Like, how does that fit in?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? That's our mission for this deep dive.
Exactly. To dig into all this stuff and, find the threads, we're looking at the revolution, loyalty, what that even meant then, and symbols that, well, still resonate.
Okay, let's start unpacking. Where should we begin? Maybe the visual side of the revolution.
Good idea. Because beyond the battles, there was this whole visual language developing, wasn't there? Shaping how people saw things.
Absolutely. Take Paul Revere's A Perspective View of the Town of Boston. It's not just geography, it's like a snapshot of a city right on the edge.
And then there's that really stark illustration, John Malcolm, Origine de la Révolution Américaine, the tarring and feathering one. Ugh.
It's brutal. You really get a sense of the anger, the social chaos of the time from images like that.
So what strikes you most about these early pictures?
Well, they serve different purposes, right? Revere's view gives you the setting, maybe what's at stake. But the Malcolm picture, that's pure propaganda.
Designed to fire people up about British tyranny.
Exactly. And then you have written things, too, like an appeal to the world or a vindication of the town of Boston, trying to sway opinion with words, not just images.
And anchoring it all geographically, we've got William Faden's Plan on Boston, 1775, helps picture the layout.
Right, shows where all that early action was happening.
Now back to that music, the Battle of Trenton and divine disaster. That word divine, it feels loaded, especially next to disaster.
It really does. Was it sarcasm? Or, suggesting some kind of righteous fate, maybe?
It's a puzzle. Music was definitely a tool for patriotism back then.
Oh, absolutely. And that title, that description, it likely carried real symbolic weight. Divine disaster could mean, maybe, a setback for the British, seen as God's justice by the patriots.
Given the religious feeling of the era, that makes sense.
It just underscores how deeply ideological the whole conflict was. It wasn't just about taxes. It was about fundamental beliefs.
Okay, so we're seeing this revolutionary heat building in Boston. But the sources, they point to a shift, don't they?
They do. The information about Samuel Graves's blockade, it suggests the British were rethinking things.
Realizing Boston maybe wasn't the best naval base after all.
Sort of, yeah. By 1775, they start moving naval resources, concentrating more on New York. That's when they set up His Majesty's dockyard there.
And looking at the maps, William Howe setting up his HQ in Staten Island that gives him control of the harbor. Right. Makes sense.
Exactly. Smart move strategically. And Washington saw this coming.
So that's why he moved the Continental Army to Long Island.
Yeah.
Anticipating that New York would be the next big flashpoint.
Precisely. And he started overseeing the building of defenses, fortifications along the heights of Guam, like Fort Putnam.
Which we know today is Fort Greene.
Right. But despite those defenses, the Battle of Long Island, well, it didn't go well for the Americans.
No, it didn't. What went wrong there? What was the key mistake?
A critical oversight, really. Jamaica Pass, it was a route through the hills, and it just wasn't well guarded.
Not enough security.
Not nearly enough. And then the British fleet arrives at Gravesend Bay. Huge force estimates are over 30,000 troops by August 76.
Wow.
And because that pass was so lightly defended, the British basically marched right through, outflanked the American positions.
And captured Long Island. Just like that.
Yeah. It's a stark lesson in terrain, intelligence, security, all critical in war.
A huge blow for the revolutionaries. And this kind of brings us to another really important group, the Loyalists, often less talked about.
That's true. Our sources, like the Loyalists in the American Revolution and the British colonies, give us some insight into their side of things.
So who were these people? Were they all the same?
Not at all. That's key. They came from all sorts of backgrounds, different reasons for staying loyal to the crown. And many weren't passive. They actively supported the British war effort.
Right, even forming their own military units that fought alongside the British Army.
Exactly. We even see specific names popping up in the Canadian archives, like Anthony Dalton and a MacDonald. Gives it a human face.
And then you have things like the Loyalist Centennial Ode or the United Empire Loyalists. These reflect their own story, their sense of identity, right? upholding order.
That's a crucial point. Their perspective was often totally different. They saw the revolution as illegal, chaotic, disruptive.
But staying loyal came at a price, especially if they stayed in the new United States.
Oh, definitely. That act for the forfeiture and sale of the estates, source, it shows the harsh measures taken. People lost everything, property, homes.
And the visual sources, again, they don't hold back. New method of macaroni making, and the Tories' Day of Judgment. Tarring, feathering, even hanging.
They're graphic reminders of just how brutal the divisions were. It wasn't just political disagreement, it got violent, deeply personal.
And there's mention of Simsbury Mines, Newgate Prison, where loyalists were confined.
Yeah, another illustration of the consequences, the very real dangers they faced for their loyalty.
Then we have the political cartoons. Sheldon-S.N.'s Sacrifice, The American Rattlesnake. Satire as commentary.
Cartoons were so effective then, they could boil down complex politics into one, often funny, image. Great for shaping public opinion, often by mocking the other side.
That rattlesnake image coiled around the British soldiers.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful. What did the rattlesnake symbolize back then?
It was interesting, seen on flags like South Carolina's. It stood for things like vigilance, courage, but also being magnanimous, not striking unless provoked. So using it against the British really sent a message of American resolve, strength.
Okay, now, shifting gears a bit, you've included material on the Siege of Gibraltar. Feels a bit far afield. Why bring that in?
Well, if you zoom out, look at the bigger picture. Gibraltar was this massive long siege, 1779 to 1783, Britain versus Spain and France.
Happening at the same time as the American Revolution.
Exactly. It shows the global scale of Britain's challenges then. They were fighting on multiple fronts. And the alliances mirrored, in a way. France helped the Americans. Spain and France were allied against Britain, trying to get Gibraltar back.
Which Britain had held since the Treaty of Utrecht, right?
Yeah.
Spain always wanted it back.
Always. You can see it in the huge fortifications they built nearby, the Linea de la Concepción.
Yeah.
Constant pressure.
And there was some serious fighting. That British raid in 1781.
Yeah.
Using special cannons.
Yeah, coolers depressing carriage, clever tech, allowing artillery to fire downwards effectively. Shows the innovation happening during these long sieges. Both sides were determined.
And then the Spanish and French tried this huge grand assault with armored ships.
Battering ships, yeah. A massive effort showing how important capturing Gibraltar was to them, but the British held on.
So how do the two conflicts, America and Gibraltar, actually connect, besides happening concurrently?
Diplomacy, mainly. There was this naval maneuver, the Battle of Cape Spartel, basically a British ruse that let supply ships get through to Gibraltar, strengthening the defense.
Oh, right.
And then, shortly after, you get the Treaties of Versailles or the Peace of Paris. That's what officially ended the American Revolutionary War and settled the status of Gibraltar. Britain kept it.
So these separate struggles were tied together in the end by the peace treaties. Fascinating.
It really shows the interconnectedness of global power plays in the late 18th century. And Gibraltar, as the sources mention, stayed strategically vital. Think World War II, Operation Felix, those incredible tunnels.
Right. Its importance just continued. Okay, let's pull back to America, specifically Long Island. You mentioned it earlier with Washington. We've got several maps here.
Yes. Maps by Beers, Comstock and Klein. They give us a good feel for the area. And Long Island, during the Revolution, it was really a microcosm of the whole conflict. Divided loyalties, lots of military action.
Like the British occupation of Lloyd Neck. Using local resources.
Yeah.
Probably with loyalist help.
Very likely. And they built significant fortifications there, too. Fort Franklin on Cold Spring Harbor.
What's its role? Why was it so important?
It was a major British base, named after William Franklin, the Loyalist governor of New Jersey. Held a lot of troops, controlled the harbor, supported their operations around New York. The Patriots tried to take it, but it stayed British for most of the war.
And this area was also spy central, wasn't it? Benjamin Tallmadge, the Culper spy ring.
Absolutely. Tallmadge was Washington's intelligence chief, and the Culper Ring operated all over Long Island. Agents like Abraham Woodhull, Robert Townsend, sending crucial info back about British plans. Incredibly important work.
We also see the King's American Dragoons mentioned, stationed on Lloyd's Neck. Who were they?
A Loyalist cavalry unit, formed in 1781, led by Benjamin Thompson, later Count Rumford. They helped secure Lloyd Neck, built more defenses like Fort Golgotha and Fort Slongo, shows again how active Loyalists were militarily.
And tracing what happened to these places after the war is quite something. Fort Franklin becomes a Jesuit retreat, then private estates now, part of a state park.
Comstock State Historic Park Preserve, yeah. It's amazing how these landscapes change, from military site to private wealth to public land. You see that pattern with other places mentioned too, like Joseph Lloyd Manor, the DeForest properties.
It speaks volumes about Long Island's history. And it all sits on land that goes way back to the Dutch settlement of New Amsterdam.
Right, the layers of history are just immense in that region.
Which, speaking of New York Harbor, brings us neatly to another iconic spot, Bedloe's Island, Liberty Island. The sources mention a fort being built there.
Yes, Fort Wood. Built in the early 1800s, part of that coastal defense upgrade, a classic star fort design.
And that's what the Statue of Liberty sits on. The base is the old fort.
Kind of amazing, isn't it? The existing military walls were incorporated into the pedestal designed for liberty enlightening the world. A symbol of freedom built right onto a symbol of defense.
Tell us about building the statue itself. It must have been an incredible feat of engineering.
Oh, absolutely monumental. Designed by Bartholdi, the French sculptor. It uses that repoussé technique, hammering thin copper sheets from behind.
To create the outer skin.
Exactly. And all those copper plates are held up by this intricate iron skeleton inside, designed by none other than Gustave Eiffel.
Before the tower.
Right. And the huge stone pedestal, that was by the American architect Richard Morris Hunt, built within Fort Wood's walls, a real Franco-American project.
And the symbolism is just everywhere on it, isn't it? The torch.
Symbolizing enlightenment, liberty's light. Originally meant to be a functional lighthouse beacon, actually.
And the crown. Those 7 spikes.
Often said to represent the 7 continents or 7 seas, so universal liberty. And the windows offer views, of course.
And the tablet she holds.
Inscribed with July 4th, 1776, in Roman numerals, the date of the Declaration of Independence. Even its shape, like a keystone, suggests liberty is fundamental.
The lighting has changed over the years too, hasn't it? From arc lamps to stained glass.
Yeah. Gutzon Borglum, who later did Mount Rushmore, replaced the original torch flame with stained glass. Didn't work too well. Now it's LEDs, and the flame is gilded copper. Reflects changing tech, but the commitment to the symbol remains.
And you can't talk about the statue without mentioning Emma Lazarus's poem, The New Colossus.
Definitely not. Give me you're tired, you're poor.
Inscribed at the base, it really cemented the statue's meaning as a beacon of hope for immigrants arriving in America. Hugely powerful.
But the statue wasn't immune to conflict. That Black Tom Pier explosion in 1916.
A huge act of sabotage during World War I. Munitions exploding on the Jersey shore just across the water. It damaged the statue quite a bit. Shrapnel hit the copper, weakened some structure.
But the torch kept burning, apparently.
Symbolically, yes, though access to the torch balcony has been closed ever since for safety reasons. And that event, it pushed the U.S. towards better security intelligence laws. Even an attack near a symbol has real-world consequences.
Absolutely. And that poster included in the sources, the damaged Statue of Liberty, that liberty shall not perish from the earth. Wow. Really drives home its power as a symbol and the need to protect what it represents.
So potent. Okay, finally, let's touch on France again. Their relationship with America obviously started strong during the Revolution, but it shifted, didn't it? Especially after their own revolution.
It really did. France's help was absolutely crucial for American victory, formalized in that Treaty of Alliance. But then, when the French Republic was established and asked the new U.S. for help,
America said no, stayed neutral.
Pretty much. They even argued they didn't need to repay war debts to the new French government because the debt was to the old monarchy.
Ouch. That must have caused some friction.
Oh, considerable tension. It really shows how quickly international friendships can change when regimes change. Politics is complicated.
But despite that bump, the U.S. later bought a huge chunk of land from France.
The Louisiana Purchase, exactly. So the relationship evolved, ebbed and flowed, complex like all international relations.
It really is amazing looking back at all these pieces. The music, the maps, the cartoons, the accounts, even that power plant. Note how they all connect. They weave together this incredible story about revolution, loyalty, symbols, spanning time and continents.
It's quite something, and what really strikes me is how places, objects, they just soak up history, layer upon layer of meaning. They don't just reflect the past, they kind of shape how we see things now.
That's a great point. So maybe for you, listening, as you go about your day, look around. Notice the landmarks, the old buildings, maybe even just an old document or photo you have. Think about the stories, the layers of history they might be holding.
Yeah.
You do your own little deep dive. You might be genuinely surprised at what you find just beneath the surface.
Absolutely. There's always more to uncover.
Well, thank you for joining us on this particular exploration today.